again, and we are going to be talking about the cons of stamped concrete finish or stamped concrete surfaces. We are going to be talking about the disadvantages, that's the cons. We talked about the advantages in the previous video. Now we are going to be talking about the cons, the disadvantages. Now, the first or most striking disadvantage of stamped concrete is the difficulty to service buried cables where necessary. Stamped concrete were created to be a permanent flooring solution. They're created to be a permanent flooring solution that once they are done, it's impossible to reach or to take them out and do any form of maintenance on buried services. Like unlike the usual outdoor floors that are used to like interlocking stones or paving stones. But there's a way to mitigate against this disadvantage of stamped concrete floors. I will teach you, I'll guide you by one easy way to do that. The easy way to do that is by making sure that the buried surfaces or the areas where you have buried surfaces are clearly marked, and you can one create a slab, a color coded slab over the areas where you have buried surfaces like manholes and pipes, running pipes underneath. You create a slab. Creating a slab makes it possible for you to remove the slab if you have to do maintenance on such areas later on. If it's an area you're going to be going to do maintenance over time, the easy way out is to do a slab, a stamped concrete slab. It's possible, a thin slab that you just lift off whenever time you need to do maintenance and place back when you're done with the maintenance on such buried services or areas where you are going to be going back to after a while. So that disadvantage can also be eliminated by doing this. Another way to eliminate that disadvantage is by doing a lot of planting trees, lawns and flowers, particularly in areas where you have pipes running, especially close to the building or close to the fence or the walls. You have plumbing pipes or mechanical pipes running around the house. In such places, you want to create maybe like a 0.5 meter green area very close to the fence, apart from very close to the walls of the building. Apart from the aesthetic improvement this will give to your property, it also helps to make sure that you have a lot of oxygen and you have an environmental friendly home by having a lot of plants around. So uh, having those green areas or those lawns or flower beds where you plant flowers over the buried services, buried cables, buried pipes, having that over there makes it possible that if peradventure there is need for any form of maintenance, you just take out the soil on such areas, do your maintenance, return them back and replant whatever plant was there before. You won't have to bring in heavy equipment like concrete cutters and jackhammers to break out the stamped concrete floor and redo a fresh stamped concrete floor when you are done. So two solutions out of this disadvantage. One is by color coding those areas and making a slab over those areas, keeping a void and doing a slab, a stamped concrete slab that will sit on such areas. The other easy way out is by making it part of the green areas or part of the areas where you have vegetation on your compound or in your compound. So it will also help you to improve the overall aesthetic look of the floor and of your compound, planting flowers and planting lawns. That's one way to mitigate against that disadvantage there. The second disadvantage of the stamped concrete floor is that you need to pay attention to details when installing them. You can't afford to get carried away. You can't afford to leave the site even for a moment notice, except you are done with the work of the day or the work of the moment. I will explain this when we go into detail. It's possible for even a pro to make a mess out of stamped concrete if the rules you are going to be taught in this course is not carefully followed. and adhered to. You might run into issues if you don't pay attention to detail, because once they are done, they are done. There's no repair. If you have to repair, you have to break, and it's not going to be as beautiful as it should be. So you need to pay attention to detail, and while working, be serious about it. The third one we are going to be talking about, the third disadvantage, is they are heavily reliant on favorable weather conditions. The quickest drop of rainfall can turn a very beautiful stamped concrete floor into a mess if the concrete is not sufficiently hardened before the downpour or before the rain comes. So before commencing any stamped concrete installation, I always advise my students to make sure that the weather is fair. You must ensure the weather is fair before you commence any form of stamped concrete installation. And once the weather is fair, then you can go ahead and install. If the rain should meet you, always keep a tarpaulin or a roll of heavy nylon around that you can quickly cover the freshly poured concrete, because concrete does not go well with water when it's freshly poured until it is dry. The fourth disadvantage is that the process involved can be long, enduring, can be time consuming, and most times for large projects you might need to get more hands so that you can conclude the project properly and in record time. The fifth disadvantage is the cost of the equipment and the tools in making stamped concrete. But in some areas, these disadvantages have been minimized or eliminated by making it possible for you to hire some of the expensive tools and equipment used in making stamped concrete. Also, in this course, I'll be giving you cheap alternatives where possible. Cheap alternatives that you can use in place of the high end and the luxury one. I'll explain both, and where possible, you have a cheap alternative. You can take advantage of the cheap alternative, or you hire from existing stamped concrete manufacturers in your place of residence or where you live. That's as the disadvantages, and that will be ending this part of the course. So we will see in the next module and continue our lectures. I hope it's been a rewarding session for you thus far. See you in the next module, and bye bye for now. Thank you.